Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. Like we rightly said before, that we will be giving in detail, step by step, on the processes of how you get along with your ArchiCAD. So first of all, we are going to be using ArchiCAD 17. We'll be using ArchiCAD 17. Reason for that is that we have earlier versions of ArchiCAD 12 down to 7, 6 and all the rest of them, and we also have newer versions down to ArchiCAD 24. So I chose 17 in order to be at the middle from 12 to 24. So once you log on to your ArchiCAD, go to create new project, which is here. From create new project, you select, you see latest version, last profile used or default profile. So for beginners, let's go for default profile so that you can be able to understand properly. So you click on default profile and say new. You click on new and allow the program to load. Now you can see that the program has loaded. Let's go back, so I'll brief you on step by step on what we're going to be doing. Now if you look at this clearly, you will see on our last post we said we'll be going in details on how to save a file. These are things you're supposed to do immediately if you launch your ArchiCAD. Before you begin anything, you save the file. We will give in details saving of a file. We will also give in detail setting of the perimeter so that you get to understand what the menu box, standard toolbox and other boxes, what they do. We set our keyboard shortcuts, details how you get to do all those things, and also step by step on how to set your story height, then pen weights. So we'll go step by step, but first of all let's talk about saving the file, since our ArchiCAD is loaded on already. Now this is our ArchiCAD fresh page, default page. It doesn't have any shortcuts, doesn't have any settings, nothing at all. So we'll talk about step by step. So first of all, we'll talk about saving a file. Once you've opened your ArchiCAD file, whether version 12 or 24, from late version to earlier version, what you first of all do is to go to your file. This is your file menu. This is your menu bar. This at the top is your menu bar. On your menu bar, you definitely find file, edit, save, view, design, documents, option, teamwork, windows and help. And there are many others which are more like add-ons, but these are the basics that comes with ArchiCAD. So sorry, let me on our keyboard so that if there are anything I'm doing, you'll be seeing it. Let me on our keyboard. Good. It's good we have our keyboard here so that we can be working with our keyboard. And let me bring it at the center. Forget about the Windows background. Forget about the background of the ArchiCAD. Now, let's go back to our ArchiCAD. Now, once you open the ArchiCAD file, saving, you go to File. From the drop down file menu, you locate your save file. Now if you look closely at the save file, you see Ctrl S. Ctrl S is a shortcut key that you'll be using to achieve that with your left hand, like I always say. Now you click on it, you see save. It will open a saving box for you. You see a saving box. Let me bring this one down. You see a saving box here. Under the saving box, for example, you want to save on your system, whether wherever location, whether on documents, desktop, download, depending on where you want to save, you can make the choice and select the folder that you want. Possibly create a new folder. Now, for me, I prefer saving my files on a separate drive, my D drive. What do? I select and click and look for a location where I want and save in my file. From here, I can actually say, what are we talking about? Introduction to use of ArchiCAD. Intro. ArchiCAD. Sorry, I'm supposed to be using my keyboard so that you understand what I'm doing. ArchiCAD, okay? ArchiCAD, caps locks, ArchiCAD, and then say words. Since I've not created a folder for it, let me copy the title and then create a folder. Look up here, see, create a folder. I click on create a folder and do what? Right click and paste that particular name and then say enter. Go back to the name. It's already on ArchiCAD solo project, so do what? I save. But for now, let me go back to the page without saving it. Like I said, shortcut is important. I always teach the shortcut. Now, still on a fresh page, remember, we've not saved the file. We've not saved the file because I wanted to show you on how to use your shortcut. Now, you go to your keyboard with your left hand and say Control S. It opens the page. You see, it opened that particular folder which I newly introduced to save my file. What do? I right click and do what? Paste. Paste that particular name that I want to use. That's number one saving system. Once you do it, you've saved your file. If I click on save, now the file has saved. There's something we'll call savers. Now, when you go back to your file menu, the drop down file menu, you see savers. Savers is when you're already working on a project and you feel you need to have a copy of it, or maybe you are working on a different project, you want to use the same template, default template you are using to generate another project. You use savers. You can see the shortcut code there is Ctrl+Shift+S. You click on savers and it will open the page. Once it opens the page, now what savers does that it gives you room to locate the kind of file you want to save. It's no more going to save directly ArchiCAD file or project. It will give you room to look for file extensions. You have your ArchiCAD solo project, you have model file, even it will give you room for an earlier version, for you to save an earlier version of ArchiCAD. Maybe somebody is using ArchiCAD 16 and what you are using is ArchiCAD 17 and you want to bring it down so that the person who is even using ArchiCAD 12 can use. First of all, you must have other lower versions installed in the system. So when you save to ArchiCAD 16 here, once you click it, it will save it as ArchiCAD 16 file, which can be opened with any newer version. You can also, from this file extension saving list, you can save to PDF and any other thing. Maybe you're done with your project, you want to save that particular project to another file. Maybe for DWG, those of them who are users of Autodesk softwares like AutoCAD and other softwares. Here you can make those choices on which one you want to save. But for now, we are using ArchiCAD 17, so let's retain it to that particular file name and that same version of ArchiCAD 17 and do what? Click on save. You see automatically it will ask you, do you want to replace? You say yes, you want to replace. If you don't want to replace, you change the name. Do you understand? So that's just it. Let's put up our keyboard back and then we'll continue. If you go back to your control, look at the keyboard, Ctrl+Shift+S. Look at my S. I click the S, it opens it. Now you see that the savers type, which is the file extension, has already made it ArchiCAD solo project as a default because that's the last saving type we used. Do you understand it? That's all you need to know about saving a file. You know, saving a file and opening a file is like a kind of same as a brother. Now let's go back to our file menu. Okay, now take a very good look. Maybe I don't want to use my mouse to go to stress myself, and I want to locate my file, or maybe I want to save a file. I can actually say alternate. Look at alternate. I say alternate. When I say alternate, I click on F. Now when you click alternate, look at this file, look at this menu bar. You see that all the options at the menu bar has a tiny line underneath of the character. Now when you see all those tiny lines, like we want to go to our file, you look at that tiny line, you see that the tiny line is under F. F is underlined, which means with your alternate, you click F, it will open the file for you. Sorry, I'm coming. Excuse me, pardon me for that. Now, when you say alternate key and F, have you seen it? It has checked it blue. It's not left for you to either say you click down. Sorry. Alternate F. Okay. If you're using a keyboard directly, it will work. When you're using your keyboard directly, like I said, alternate F, it will bring it out because you're using a keyboard. Because you are using our keyboard here, we are using this on-screen keyboard. That's why it is not actually reflecting. But once you're using your keyboard directly, once you click on any short file, okay, look at the mouse. I'll keep the mouse here and give you an example. Be looking at the keyboard. I'm holding my alternate key now. I'm holding my alternate key. Now I tap F. I'm holding my alternate key and I tap F. You see, it has opened it. I'll now select my options. And when you look down on this file menu drop down, this drop down file menu, you will see some other things even the save as has an the A underlined, the last A as underlined. When you tap A, it will open that page for save as without you using your mouse to go there. Once you've mastered using your left hand, depending if you're a right-handed person or left-handed person, once you've mastered using your hand on your keyboard, you don't need to start stressing yourself using the mouse. What you just need to do is to use your hands and do the needful. Just like instead of me going to click on this tab here, once my left hand is there, I do what? I click on my escape key and it goes off. Do you understand now? Let's give a test with other options at the menu bar. Let's say alternate. We say E because you can see that E is checked. There is an underlined E. That's edit. You click on it, it will open it. You see other options. Maybe you're having issues with your mouse and you want to do some certain things. It's very simple. You can actually use your keyboard without doing anything and go through. So the same is applicable to other options. And now we want to open a file. What do? I click on alternate, click on my file. I want to open a file. I go down and say open the file. Once I click on my right arrow this way on the keyboard, I say it. Let me go back so you understand. Now another funny thing is that once you click on your alternates and click on any of those, let's say for example, I click at my alternate and click on file, and sorry about that, please. I click on alternates, click on file. You can use your arrow key to navigate. Always remember to make use of your keyboard. I'm actually trying to use it on-screen keyboard to work, but it's not working. So when you click on file, and you can use your arrow key to navigate to other options, it will still return back. You see, it's just there. Now we want to open a file. ArchiCAD gives you room to actually locate already done projects directly from here. You can see there are some already done projects that are here. instead of going back to the folder, you start looking for them here. See, this one we saved recently. This is Intro ArchiCAD. Intro ArchiCAD is already there. And if you don't want to go with Intro ArchiCAD, just do what? Control O. Control O is alphabet O is a shortcut for that. You click on it and it opens a page. You start looking for what you want to open. That's just for saving and opening a file with ArchiCAD. Wait for your comments and your questions. We are ready to answer them anytime, any day, anywhere. So let's go to the next phase of what we came for. Now, setting perimeters. Number 2, to set in perimeters. Now, if you're using your ArchiCAD, once you've saved your file, setting the perimeters is understanding the ArchiCAD page, which is the windows of ArchiCAD. First of all, let me drag this out so that you'll be seeing. Look at this. I've dragged it out. Now, this is your standard menu. After your after your menu bar, where you have your file, edit, and all the rest of them. Next thing that always follows suit is the standard menu. Under standard menu, without, maybe you want to save a file for the first time, you don't need to go start looking for the file. Maybe you use your mouse and go to this particular option and say save. You click it, the saving box is there, new, open, save, print, cut. You've already started working. If you can see that our cut is not checked because nothing is selected. If we select a file now, you see the cut is has appeared. And other things that are hidden has appeared also, depending on what you are selecting. Now, you see your cut, your copy, paste, undo, redo, even fit to page. These are advanced tools. We will come to them later on. The pickup file, the inject file, the inject perimeters, pickup perimeters, many of them. The show height tracker. Okay, like I said in details. First of all, new is just because you want to open a new file, a new doc page for you to start a new project. Open is for you to open an already existing project or a project that's sent to you by another work team to work on. Save, well, as we all know, is all about saving a project I've worked on. Printing is when you're already done with a project and you want to print it. That's what you can find in your standard bar. You can find your cuts. Maybe you want to cut a certain part of the project and take it to another worksheet or another story level, because ArchiCAD uses story, worksheet, and every other thing to work with. So it depends on what you want to achieve. We have your copy. You don't want to lose the file, but you just want to copy the project to another, even to another ArchiCAD software. It's possible, so far as the same version or a higher version. You can't copy from a lower version. You can't copy from a higher version to a lower version. It won't work. But you can copy from a lower version to a higher version. The only thing you can achieve in ArchiCAD trying to work with a lower version is saving step by step down to meet up the lower version you're using. Let's say you're using ArchiCAD 17 and you want to go to ArchiCAD 12. What you do is you save from ArchiCAD 12 down to 16, open ArchiCAD 16, open the file, save it down to 15. You gradually keep going down till you get to 12, depending on the reason why you want to go back to 12. Now we have your paste. You want to paste. Just once you've copied, you should be able to paste. You don't just copy and leave it that way. For you to have copied means that you wanted to paste it somewhere. Redo and undo, these two clicks they have their shortcuts. Always bear that in mind. Control Z That's Control Z is the shortcut for you to undo what you've already done. Most of the softwares has the same shortcut keys, like a little bit. Some of them have the same kind of shortcut. Unlike Microsoft Word, Control Z is Control Z, the same thing with ArchiCAD, but it's not the same thing with Redo. In Microsoft Word, it's Control Y, but in ArchiCAD, it's Control Shift Z. Closer to your, just everything is just close by. ArchiCAD made it so that you can actually do it without stressing yourself to look for where Y is. Now Control Y, you see the distance, but Control Shift Z is close by with your hand. Look at the keyboard. That's just the thing. So we'll move further. Find and select. When you're working on a project, for example, and you have multiples of walls, a certain wall, maybe a dwarf wall. Maybe you have a dwarf wall. Okay, let me neutralize this now. Let me use lines, because every field uses line. So let's say you have a certain line, and that line has its thickness and it has its own line type. What find does is that if you select a particular line, you can actually locate that same particular line without disrupting or touching others for you to do your editing for that particular line. Pickup perimeter is more like you have already done something. Maybe you've set a line to a thickness and a type, and you want to select that particular line, the settings of that line, and impose it to another line. You click this perimeter and impose. Or maybe should I be giving you practicals of what I'm saying? Okay, fine. First of all, I have this line here. This is a line. Let me switch off the grid line so that you can be able to see. Now we have a line here. We have this line, and we have another line. Let's say Control Shift D. Control Shift D means to drag a copy. I'm even going further to teach other things, but it's okay. It's okay. It's part of the lessons. Now you want to pick. Let's say this line is kind of yellow in color. Okay, fine. Now you want to pick this perimeter and impose it on this one. What you do is select these two. You go closer to it, it changes to blue. You click it once and it disappears. You go back and select inject perimeter and select it and do what? Click it on this one. You see it has gone back to look alike like this other one. That's what it does. Do you understand now? Now let's go back and let's say Control Z. Now let's go back and have multiples of this other color. Let's say we have multiples of this other color scattered all over your worksheet, and we also have this particular color scattered all over your worksheet. I'm trying to talk about find and select. Now you click on find. When you click on that find and select, you select the line, the particular elements. It's not just line, it could be windows, it could be walls, it could be worksheet, it could be anything. You select that particular thing you want, like we are using line as reference. Select it. You come to this particular place and say copy settings. You copy the settings. You've copied the settings. Now look at this very place clearly. See element type. You see element type, it says line. But if you say line and say okay, let's go to select element, you see it will select the whole lines. But what we are looking at is just this particular line type and line weight. And let's say we have other line types, maybe dash lines or wave lines. Let me look for dash lines. Let me say we have dash lines. Yeah, you understand? But they are the same color. Now I want to select. I say select. I say copy settings. When I go to copy settings, I don't need to rush and click on this plus sign here which says select. I'll now go to add. and I select my add, you see add will automatically give you its own choice. If you don't want that particular choice, you can now go down to say layer, because you can save in layers, in zone, and all the rest of it. But for now, we'll make it faster so that when you start practicing, sometimes what you do is to discover things on your own. Most of the things we did discover them on our own. Sometimes you go for extra research. Now you go to your you see, you said pen. Pen means the kind of color it is using. Have you seen the color pen is 8? Everything is there. You can change the color pen if you have multiples of different colors you want to work with. You now say select that particular one. Now the light type, don't forget, now we say plus select. That's, click on the plus sign which says select element. Sorry, and I say, sorry, we don't select this particular one here, this one. We go to line type. Sorry. Okay, this is element type. That's line. Then look at the line type. Now we need solid line. We don't need to take the dash lines. If we select it and say, okay, we need this dash line here, you see, it will give us option for us to select anyone. But what we need is, we don't need this the dash line. We select on this one. You see, it has selected all related files, leaving us with other ones who are not one. They are not the same color. They are not of the same solid lines. That's what find and select does. If you click on minus line, it means that you want to deselect those things. You see, click on them, you deselect it. Maybe, for example, all the lines they are selected. Let's say we select all the lines. Sorry, let's click on it. Now let's say all the lines are selected, and we've already selected the kind of line we want to deselect. You click on it until you deselect and leave the other ones to be. So that's just how it is. Now we still go to, since you've known your pick, what pick does, you pick and drop. You pick this one, you come here and eject it on this one. Do you understand? Let's say undo. Now we pick this one and then we inject it on this one, depending on what you want to achieve. Sorry. Now let's go further. Now we have guidelines. This guideline has a shortcut which says L, letter L. That's a shortcut for it. Now be looking at this place. Let's go to our keyboard. Be looking at this place. Now let's go to our keyboard and click L. Have you seen that it has selected it? That's the essence of a shortcut. Maybe you are working and mistakenly you do something and it's no more selected. You just do what? Since you know the shortcut, you click on L, it comes back on without any stress. Once you tap, you see, the more I'm tapping and releasing, it is changing. That's the effect of your keyboard. Makes the work faster, very much faster. That's why most times people will tell you that you don't design with your system. You design on the sheet of paper. No matter the concept you have, you must have a place where it has been drawn before you start inputting it in your CAD. CAD is just to do what? Make it come out better and faster. But when you are doing the thinking, you don't do the thinking on the system. Yes, the basic thinking, the first creative or conceptualizing of the whatever you're doing. You do it on the paper and then come to the system. So that you don't, before you start dragging your mouse to this place to click, maybe the idea you have has skipped off from your mind. Now we have this other special snap point. Special snap point gives you room for you to, now let's say we uncheck it. I don't know if it has a shortcut. Okay, now you see it does not have a short key. That's now left for you to create a short key for it. But for now, let's just talk about the special snap point. Special snap point, when it is off, you cannot be able to identify a point for a particular thing. For like that example, what you see here is automatic grid line sign, but the snap point maybe show you the center of a place. It will be difficult for you to identify. Now look at it very well. The symbol is also there. Now let's activate it. We've activated it now. Now go to this line. You see it has given us a center point line for us to work with. That's one of the things that particular one does. Now we have a show/hide tracker. Show/hide tracker is very simple. It's one of the major things you need to work with. If it is switched off, for example, does it have a short key? No, it does not. So you can still give it your own short key. That will be okay. For me, most times I use H because of why it says show and hide. Show and hide is H, and it seems like H doesn't have anything to do. I have to use H so that I can easily do. But I have not applied short keys on this, so I will teach you that on how to apply short keys. Now, when it's off, when your show/hide tracker is off, and you want to duplicate this particular line, for example, and you say, or maybe you don't want to duplicate, you just want to move it from there. You say Control D, and then you start moving it. You see, you will not be able to see where to type a distance that you want. It will be very difficult for you. That's why I said it's very, very important, very, very vital to always have your show and hide tracker on. While you're still dragging the file, you can actually go with that file and then click on it, and it will bring out your dimension tool for you to input whatever dimension or angle that you want. You type it, and then let's say we are using something around 1.2 meters. Like we've not set the main perimeter, but we're just talking about the interface. Now you say 1.2 with the same angle of 1/8, and you click on your enter, it will go that distance that you wanted it to go. That's what that particular one does. Now we have other ones like the grid snap. Maybe if you are working on a very massive project that you want to be working on a certain grid of 3 meters or 30 centimeter or 3000 millimeter, depending on the ratio you are the measuring unit you are using. You can now set it on this grid system. Once you activate it, you now see a tiny dot. This tiny dot, let's say for example use our line. These tiny dots will be working according to the grid you've set for your system. We'll talk about grid later on. Like this particular one, I think it has a grid of 2 meters in distance. Now you see the first grid point gave it 2 meters. You understand? Let's go by angle. You see, it gives you by angle. So the first standard of ArchiCAD grid is 2000 millimeter. So you can set yours to whatever you want. That's what this does. Once it's activated, my brother, my sister, you'll be working with points. So deactivate it and you work. It's for special needs. Grid system is for special needs. And we also have our trace. Trace is maybe you're working on a ground floor plan, or you're working on a graphics work, maybe a wedding card or something like that, and you want to make it come out in 3D in a model form, and you're working in a lower level. Maybe for example, let's use a ground floor. Now trace give you room for you to see what is above you or what is below you. That's what trace does, and there are so many options about the trace. Once you activate it, you can see, choose reference. Which one do you want? Do you want to see above? Do you want to see below? You want every detail are there. What we do is we give you the basics for you to see it through. If you're an architect, you're an engineer, you're a designer, and you are good in trace, doing works with trace, it's okay. It will help you see the accuracy of what you're doing, so you don't make a mistake and do assumptions. That's what it does, and a lot more measuring tool. A lot of tools are here, but if we go down deep, we may not touch other things. So let's leave the standard menu and take it back to where it is to continue with other things. Let's take it back to where it is. Our standard toolbar is there, and we are good to go. Like I said, setting of perimeters. One of the things we do in setting our perimeters is, once you come in, before you start any work, go to your option tool. Go to your option tool. One of the major perimeters is setting your work. Either you want to make use of centimeter, you want to make use of feet, you want to make use of meters or millimeter. You have to do what? First set them to what you want. For me, I want to make use of millimeter. I don't know about you. I don't know the country code you use, the unit measurement you use. I don't know it. So basically in my country, Nigeria, what we use majorly in the field of architecture is millimeter. In some engineering field, we use feet, and some other engineering field they use meters. Surveying fields they use meters, and some other planners also use centimeters. So it depends on which unit you want to make use of. Now we'll go to our option. From our option, on option drop down menu, you locate your from your option, you locate your project preference. From your option, you locate project preference for you to set your work environment measuring unit. And when you select that project preference, look closely, you see working units. These are different things you find in ArchiCAD. You see your working unit, you see your dimensions, you see your calculation unit rules, you see your zone, your construction elements. Everything has what they are doing. But for now, we are going to be focusing on what? Dimension. Now we'll go to our dimension and click on our dimension. On our dimension, ArchiCAD comes with a standard of ArchiCAD comes with a standard of meters, plain meters. We have the plain meters, millimeter, US Architect, and US Architect, see they had to default it to feet, fractional inches. We have US Builders, the same feet fractional units, and we have US Detailing. These are different options of ArchiCAD drafters. We have fractional inches that are not on feet. So for now, I'll be using millimeter. When I click on my millimeter, that's for dimension. Look down here. You see, select dimension type. That's what I've selected. I say millimeter, and decimal, I put it on 0. I don't want to have any decimal in my measurement. And from there, you can set other unit measurement, like for that of your angular dimension. You want to measure in angles. Angles are mostly on decimal degrees. We have decimal degrees, minutes per seconds. We have by grid, by radian, and depending on one you want, surveyor's unit, depending on the one you want. But I'll leave it to that what decimal degrees. We have this other one, radial dimension. That's radius. I want to know the radius of a circle. It's on millimeter. I'll leave it at millimeter because I'm working with millimeter already for other dimensions. Now we have story levels. If you are working on a building, you have a story level, you change it to what you want. You want your elevation level, whatever it is you want. Everything is just there. Just like you have your area calculation in ArchiCAD, you can actually calculate the area of a certain work so easily and quicker and faster. It has set its own default already here. You understand? But that of area, I don't use millimeter. What I use is meters square. Now see that I've made my changes. It is asking me to save. I can actually do what? Go to storage and say I save with what should I use? Let me just use this. Let me use this. and save it. It has saved. Dimension, did I save my dimension? Okay, dimension is already on millimeter. So everything has already been saved. Every of my changes have been saved, and I do what? I say okay. That's the first basic things you do in your perimeter, even before you start talking about setting your standard. But I just brought the standard menu or standard bar for you to see some of the tools that are there. But for you to actually be better, what you need is to set your perimeter right. So I want to start working. You've already started working. And some other perimeters you should be talking about here is your tools. We have 4 major tools. Look closely by your left. We have the selection tool. Under selection tool, we have your arrow tool and mark Q. Arrow tool, once you select arrow tool, means that you've dropped every element, whether it is line, circle, walls, windows, anything, you've dropped them. You just want to keep a free tool and select anything you want to select without anything. When you say Control A, let's say for example you say Control A in your keyboard, it will select everything, because of why? You are not select, you didn't select a particular tool. You did not select a particular tool. So that's what this arrow tool does. It gives you room to select anything at random without drawing anything. Mark you is maybe you want to mark you this area, and then you want to select that particular. You want to say Control A, it will select this particular area, leaving other areas free, because you want to work on that particular place, or you want to move some certain things from there. For example, let me escape and go back to mark you this area, and then I say Control A. I will select that place and say Control D. Drag them to another position, and they are there. Do you understand? Escape key with your left hand. I'm just showing you. Keyboard is very, very important. Now, that's for selection 2, and we have other 3 major tools, which is your design tool, your document tool, and more. On design tool and more, they are more of solid elements used for drafting of 3D. That in ArchiCAD, when you see design, is solid elements where you have your doors, your walls, and all the rest of them. But on document tool is where you have things that relatively go with lines and circles and some other necessary details like your elevational, cutting section, and all the rest of them. And on more is where what you find in more. Let me just go down and open them one after another. Now let's go on our design tool. On our design tool, we have your wall, you have your door, windows, columns, beam, etc., down to mesh. These are solid elements, things that once you select them, you can actually view them on 3Ds. For example, let me select a wall and I drop the wall. Once I drop this wall and go to my 3D, which is I right click on the page and say show selections, or I mark you area in 3D. Now this is what's with you. This is the wall with you. Now let's go back to our plan. Now that's what it does. If you select anything, it comes out there. These are solid elements. Now go to your document element. Document element is all about your dimension, your levels, your texts, your labeling tool. Maybe you want to label some certain things. We will go in detail of all these things later on and how it works. You start seeing them when we start going into drafting properly. Then we have your lines. We've already started using line already. You have your lines, you have your options, and some of these tools you see here, both on design and document, have an extension or upgrade of them. Like this grid is meant to be on document too, but it is coming. These are special tools now. What you see on more are more like they are better off special tools. Your lamps, these are supposed to be on design, but they are special tools placed separately. Now let's talk about design in the other way around. When you go to your menu bar here, you look for design. Under design drop down menu, you see design tool. Now you see that. Let me open also this more so that you can be seen all through. Now when you go to your design tool, you see wall. Look closely by the left, you still see wall on the other side. You see wall, you see wall end. Now look at that wall end. Wall end is found under more, but it's a solid element you can actually view in 3D when you open your 3D windows. Shortcut for 3D windows is is F3. That's shortcut for 3D window. If you want to view a particular one, maybe you selected a particular object, you want to view it. The shortcut for it is F5. That's function key 5. Not alphabet F5. F5, your function keys. We have function key 1 to 12. So F2 is for you to view the plan. On-screen keyboard doesn't have it. I would have shown you. They are always together written. But for you to come up to this level, you must have learned the basic use of computer systems. So you have your windows and all the rest of them written here. Now when you go to your document, for example, let's go to our document. Let's close design and open document. When you go to your document 2, from the drop down menu, you will see your dimensions, everything, even those of them that are more there, and some that are not even visible on those toolbox are still found there. This is called the toolbox. Let me just drag it out a little bit. It's a toolbox. It's called a toolbox, but let me place it back. Now let's right click on this. Now you see this is our info box, this particular one. Whatever you select here appears here, giving you the information of what you've selected. That's what the info box does. This is our mark you. Now let's select, for example, this is our wall. You see it has given you a little bit basics of information about what you've selected. You see it will give you, for example, this one. I want to do a continuous drawing. Let's say you selected a wall and you have to continue drawing till you get to the shape of what you are looking for, and you get to the point and click or double click, it comes back. Or maybe you want to just draw one particular line and then you are okay, and then or maybe you want to make the line, and how it works that you click on that arrow and hold it and go to the one you want, and you select and you say square, you are okay. You go to this particular one and select at a certain position. Maybe you want to drag like this, depending on what you want to achieve. So that's just the Control Z. Let's go back and leave the page empty. So basically, let's leave it to a straight line wall. Now that's what it does. And one of the essence of your keyboard when you're working is, for example, you want to draw a straight wall. You see that your mouse cannot give you any straight line without that tiny pink, tiny orange look, kind of dash lines. But must you be always waiting for that? No. That's the essence why you need your shift key. Let's click on our shift key. Okay, you see you have tapped our shift key. Now it's on a straight line. Let's untap our shift key. Now if we go this way, if we go for our shift key, now let's hold down our shift key. Now you see it's on straight mode. No matter the direction I go, is that going opposite direction. If we come down here, it goes this way. Let's say we go on at an angle. Now you see at an angle, it's going the same opposite direction. From there you can now put D, which is distance. If you don't want to put D, you can put A, which is angle, and change the angle you want. Maybe I want angle of 60, and now go back to the other one. It gives me angle of 60, and then we go back we shift to the other one, to the other distance. But all these things is based on practicals. I'm just giving you basics. So that's how this particular one works. So that's all you need to know for now on this toolbox. Now there are some things that are not really here that we need to be learning with. Now when you right click on this, no more on the info box. Now when you right click on this particular box, maybe at any of the edge or free space of the standard toolbox, you will see things like 3D visualization, arrange elements, attributes, classic navigation, and all the rest of them listed down there. That's where you pick other tools that will be necessary for you. For the use of CAD is basically for 2Ds, 3Ds. So your 3D visualization is very, very important that you apply it and let it be visible. Now for your 2D, when you're working on 2D, both on 2D and 3D, your attributes is important. I will show you. Apart from right-clicking on the standard bar, you can actually go through the windows. From the windows, you come down to two bars. On 2 bars, you can select 3D visualization. Let's put it on. It's on and it is floating. What do? We drag it to where we want. We want it to be here. I want it to be here. I don't know about you where you want it to be, because putting it this way makes it easier for me to work. So that's how I put it. Next thing I look for is what? From Windows, I look for the attributes. I will give you reasons why you need the attribute. Let me put the attributes for advanced designers. I'll put my attributes. It's very important. There is something else that is missing. I go to my Windows. I look closely. Let me look for what I'm looking for. Arrange elements is important also. I select my arrange elements. No, let me leave arrange element. We keep searching until we get to what we're looking for. Is it drafting edge? No, sorry. Be patient, please. Classic 3D navigation, no. Drafting edge. Edit element. Is it edit element? Yeah, edit element. Edit element. Edit element is what we're looking for. You can find the edit element here. So that's just it. Now we'll take our edit element, drag it, and place it to where we want it to be. Let me say, let me just place it somewhere here. We'll tell you the reason why we need basically all these tools. Let's say I have a line, for example. I have a line here, and I want to intersect this area. That's what I need. Intersect. That's why we need this very particular tool, the edit element, so that you can actually click on this intersect and it intersects the line. So that's just it. I think we need to move further. So many other things are on our neck. So let's move further to story height. Story height. Now let's move further to story height. Now once you've arranged your interface the way you want them to be, you go for the story height. For you to set a story, once you log in, first of all, once you have achieved saving the file, that's number one. Setting your perimeter. Sorry. Let's talk about our shortcuts. Yes, it's very important. Let's go for our shortcuts. Should we go for a shortcut? Yes, let's go for a shortcut. So I will teach you how to set your shortcuts. I think that one will be very, very fast for us. Let's talk about our shortcuts. You want to once you first of all save your file, set your perimeter, set your shortcut so that you can easily navigate for anything, both your story height and any other thing that will follow suit. Now you go to your what? For you to set your shortcut, you go to your option. From option drop down menu, you go to your work environment. From this work environment, locate keyboard shortcuts. Locate keyboard shortcuts. If you watch now, this one does not have any keyboard shortcut on it. It does not. You click on it and you say okay. Now I will advise you, once you open this shortcuts settings, first thing you should bear in mind is to apply a short key for the shortcut itself, the shortcut work environment settings. Apply a shortcut for it. Reason is, if you apply a shortcut for it, You might be working and something comes up in your mind, a tool, and it's always taking you time to locate that particular tool. For example, you start going back. For example, let's say we did not apply a shortcut key now. You start looking for it again. You go to option, go to work environment, start looking for shortcut. It doesn't make sense. What do you do? Very simple. From there, you come down to the list. We have different lists here. We have current menu. We are going to be using the current menu structure. We have all commands by item. We have all commands in alphabetical order, depending on how you want. But for now, let's use current menu. From current menu, let me minimize them. Now, remember the process we use to find our shortcut key is through option. You go to option. That same process you used on the window. You go through option. From option, you come to work environment. From work environment, you roll your mouse down and look for keyboard shortcut. Now you see keyboard shortcut is empty, nothing is attached to it. You click on this, click here and press desired shortcut key you want. You click there for this keyboard. For me, I use K. It's related to it. I say what? K. Now you can see that K is not assigned to any tool at all. Whether it's capital letter K or small letter K, K is what? K. Do you understand? I don't want to start wasting my time looking for trying to make it a shift K. No, I don't want to use, even though shift K is not applied to anyone. I just want to have K. What do? I click on K and then I say assign. I'll click assign. You see, you say non-text. Don't worry, don't do any other thing. Just go directly and say enter key, which is okay. You've applied it. Now let's go back to option. You go to option, you go to environment, and from work environment, you see that the keyboard I've shown the K. So I don't need to start wasting my time. What I just need is click on K here and it will come up for me to set other shortcut keys. From here you can set other shortcut keys. For me, I'll give you instances. For example, some of these edit elements, some of these edit elements here, I apply shortcut key for them. Like if you look at this split does not have any shortcut key. Look at this trim does not have any shortcut key. Look at intersect, it does not have any shortcut key. Look at this adjust, it does not have any shortcut key. So what do? I apply a shortcut key for them. But first of all, I need to locate where they can be found on my menu bar. Where can they be found is on the edit. When you go to edit file, you see things like reshape. You go down from edit, you go down to reshape. When you see reshape, you see trim. ArchiCAD made it easy for you to trim easily. For you to trim, you have to hold down your control key with your mouse. Control key, you go to the tip where you want to trim and click your mouse, it will trim it. Let me just give you an example. I want to trim this particular edge off. I hold down my control key. Now see, let me just tap control key. Now with my mouse, I'll come here and click. It has trimmed it off. So that one I will not be applying any shortcut for it because it's just simple. So then go to edit, locate where they are. They are at what? Reshape. From edit to reshape. You see trim, you see stretch. Now you see that stretch has a shortcut which is Ctrl H. You see resize. You can resize to smaller size or bigger size. It has its own shortcut key already made by ArchiCAD, which is Ctrl K. Let's say for example, I want to resize this. I say Ctrl K. Let's say Ctrl K. I will just say OK and then click on OK and then drag maybe from any distance and I will increase. It has increased it. But that's by the way. Let's go back to what we are in for, which is creating a shortcut. You go to edit, locate where the file you want to assign a shortcut to. First of all, you click on reshape, look at them. Okay, this is where they are. I can actually find them from edit, from menu bar, edit, from edit drop down menu. I locate my reshape. From reshape, the major things I always assign shortcut key is my splits, the split, the intersect, and the adjust. Now what do? Very simple. I click on my K. I open the shortcut key. the shortcut settings from here. I look for edit. From edit, I scroll down. I now have to look for what? Reshape. I look for reshape. Now look at this. This one says split. I try to calculate which fingers are always closer to me. The fingers that are always, if I put one has something attached to it, 2 has something attached to it, 3 has something attached to it. Do you understand? So what do I now do? I want to make it easier for me. What do? I either use Control 1 or Shift. But Control is too sensitive. So what do? I use Shift. Because I might use Control and then mistakenly type O and then it goes off. So I use Shift 1 for what? Because I want to split, cut something. I want to cut it into 2. Do you understand? I want to cut it into 2. So I use Shift 2 to make sure. I use 2, that word 2, because it will always recall in my brain that I want to cut something into 2. Cutting into 2. So I use that word 2. You understand? I use the word 2. This is what I use. I have to apply Shift 2. That's for that particular one. For me to split them into 2. Now I want to, because the letters are close by and the tools I want to assign shortcuts to are close by, I'll say assign first of all for this one, and I'll go forward the next one, which is, I don't want to talk about fillets. I can actually use anyone. I can use Shift 4 for it, fillets, to get whatever I want. And I will do it anytime now. Now I say I want to intersect. I want to intersect. Maybe I have 2 lines that are crossing each other, but I want to intersect them to be as one. What do? I click on intersect because I want them to come to a point, one particular point. Psychologically, all these things are all about you being psychological. I say, okay, I want them to come to one particular point. Remember, for splitting, I want to split them in halves, in 2s. You understand? That's why I have to use 2 as a reference, so that psychologically it will be ringing in my head. Now, I want this one to come to a one particular point. What do? I use 1, but I don't want to use 1. I use Shift 1 to make them come to a point. And they are close by my left hand, which is on the keyboard. Depending on the hands that you're using to operate your system, whether you're a right-handed person or left-handed person, depends on the one that works for you. But for me, I use my left hand. Now it's close by. I apply it and I say okay. I say assign. Now the other one is adjust. I want to just adjust to for them to be maybe some of them are crossing, just like the human finger. Let's say the human finger like this is crossing. They are not on the same page and I want them to be on the same height. What do? I have to adjust them to be able to meet. So that's what adjust does. I'll select it, but because they are close by the same 2, I'll just use 3, so that the 3 of all of it has its own short assign tool already, which is Control plus minus. I cannot be wasting my time going for Control plus minus when my right hand is already on my mouse. Then I'll now start looking for Control plus minus. Do you know the distance? Look at Control key here. This is Control key. Look at Control key. Look at your plus and minus. How are you going to combine these 2? It's very simple. I have to decode it and assign another 2 for it, and it's having to assign 2. I can decide to delete this particular one. If I click delete, I delete. It goes off. I only have this particular one, and I do what? I say okay for all of them. I've saved what I want to say. Maybe I want to put also for this one. I say Shift 4 and I say assign. That's for my fillet. That's to chamfer and I say okay. Now you can see all of them now has a shortcut key. When you go closer to them now, you can see the shortcut keys are there. Go closer to them, you see the shortcut keys are there. Very simple. Now when you select this particular place, for example, let's select this one and say Shift 4, it will ask me of what distance do I want to make them. I will just say maybe let's say 1.5 and I'll say okay. First of all, it will merge them as at one point and then chamfer it to what I want. If I don't want to use that one, I say maybe I want to put it at a chamfer. You have second line, you have angle, I say 1.5 and you say okay, it will chamfer it. Do you get the point now? You get the check. Instead of going back to click split, I just do it straight up and we are good to go. That's all about shortcuts. You can set anything you want, the shortcut to anything you want, to your choice. Thank you very much. That's for shortcut keys. Now let's look at our story settings like we just said. Okay, fine and good. Let's go to our story settings. Once you're done with saving your file after launching ArchiCAD, you're done with and you are done with your setting of perimeters and applying of shortcut keys, you are good to go. And one interesting thing is this: when you have applied all these things and you want to retain the same settings, it is very simple. When you're logging into ArchiCAD, it will ask you, do you want to use a default perimeters or do you want to continue with the last used perimeter? You will tell them simply you want to continue with the last used perimeter. Do you understand now? That's just it. So let's go to our story settings. For you to set a story, you go to design. Once you've done every necessary thing, you go to design from your menu bar. From design, you locate story settings. Now look at it. It already has a shortcut code, which is your Control 7. You click on it and it opens. Let me click on it. It opens. These default settings it has. Basically, we use 3 meters as the height of our building or what we're working for. Let me use building for example. You set it to 3 meters, 1, 2, 3. But remember, we consider the slab thickness that will be at top if we are going more than 1 floors. Maybe you are going 1 story, 2 story, 3 story. What do? That slab, depending on the calculation, if it is 150 mm slab, you have to add that 150 mm slab to this and say 150. So instead of having just 3000 millimeter or 3.1 meters, 3.15 meters, you now apply 3150 so that you add that slab thickness there. The same thing is applicable to other floors depending on the height you want to give to the other floor. You can actually insert a basement floor. For it, let's say you type and you put a name here. For it, you put basements. You have a basement floor, you can put the floor. And you can change this. Maybe you don't want to call it the basement. You can decide to call it a DPC. Let's say just example for us, things that are below the assumed ground level. Let's just put DPC. Let's make it easy. DPC. So we understand. Let's make it 1.5 for example. 1.5 meters, 1.5 meters, 1,500. And we are good to go. We can rename other floors, maybe to first floor, second floor, and third floor. Or first floor, roof plan. Let's say upper floor, for example. Upper floor. Let's say upper floor, and then we say roof plan or whatever you want to put there, depending on the name on what you are working on. You now say what? You go back to the floor you want to view immediately. Say okay, and you are good to go. Chicken. It has a short code. You want to change or you want to insert another story or another floor. You say you want to insert, let's say insert above. You click on insert above. It automatically gives you the same dimension you've already been using because they are going with the same. You can take this one off and put it here and say that's a roof plan. Here could be your second floor, depending. Second floor. Now this one can be your first floor. You just change this name and say first floor, and you are good to go. And you say what? Okay. Each one you select is there. That's all about our story settings. I hope it's sinking inside. And when you look at this navigator projector, you see everything is here. You see everything is just here. You see the DPC we created is there. The ground floor, the first floor, second floor, the roof. Everything is just there, and they are found under. First of all, let's minimize this. You see, we have our intro ArchiCAD, which is the file name of this particular thing we are doing. You see, it is there. Other floors, you see other details. We'll come to them later on. These are elevation lines. These things you're seeing there that comes elevation. Let's zoom. You see not elevation, we see east elevation. So these are just things you find on this navigator project. So that's just it. Now next thing we're going to be talking about is our pens and weights, or pen weights. This much more critical. I don't know if I have to leave it for the next class, but since we marked it out for this particular class, let's continue with it. Now pen weight is very easy to achieve. For you to do your pen weight, you go to your option. From option you go to elements and you look for pens and colors. You click them, but you can actually create a shortcut for it. What do? You go to your, first of all, look at the option, look at it, pens and colors. You see under pens and colors now, you see N that is having an underline on it. You bear in mind, okay, it could be for my pen, let me just put a shortcode for it. I don't want to be wasting my time going to option, from option to elements and attributes, and I don't want that. You do it, you go with your shortcut. I've tapped my key already. Now look for what? Pens. That's from option to element attributes. I look for pen. And now I'll have to try different options. If I try ordinary N, which they show me, see it has a different tool working with it. I clean it. I check Shift N. Now you see that Shift N is not having anything. What do? I assign Shift N for it, so I don't go about wasting the whole of my time trying to go to the, very simple. I just go with my keyboard and I'm on my pen already. Let me do it with the keyboard, Shift N, and I'm on my pen already. These are the standard pen we have. The standard one that comes. You can actually create yours and put a name to it. For example, let me just on my true line weight. You right click on your page and say true line weight. I've on it. It's on now. Once it's shining blue at the edge here, it means that it's on. Now it's on. Let me select these particular lines. Let me say this one is black. Let's say 27. Let me say 27. Now let me say this one is 7. Now you see that they are sharing almost the same power. Do you understand? Now I want to change their line thicknesses. Now I say Shift N. I go down to 27. Look at this, 27. That's the pen. The pen, just like you're having pen, you've numbered your pen. So this is pen number 27. Now I change this to, let's say, 0.8. Let me change it to 0.8. Do you understand? And now change this particular one, this pen number 7, to, let's say, 0.2 or 0.1, depending. I can't just leave it. If I say okay, it will apply, but the best option is for you to save it. I go to store and click store as. I'll not change a name. I will still use my normal and save it as that and say store. It has been stored. I'll now say okay and move on. Now you see that the pen weight has changed. You see the pen weight has changed. If I change this pen weight, let's say if I change this one to this particular pen weight, which is 27, it comes, I change this one to, depends on what I want to achieve. That's how it works. We'll go in detail of all these things later on in our next class, so that we'll talk about how you can apply them to other things, whether wall lines or anything you're doing. You understand? Thank you very much, and we so much appreciate your presence. And don't forget to like, share and comment, because your feedback is what gives us a better approach to giving the best we can. We are not 100% good, but we'll try as much as possible to break things down. So in our next class, we will continue by elaborating how pen weight works, so that we can be able to dive into drafting properly. And a tip of what we are going to be drafting with is this. We're going to be drafting and showing you how you can be able to achieve this particular pen you're looking at. You see we have different pen weights attached to them, so we'll be diving into them one by one. We so much appreciate you. We say thank you so much, and we are loyal and remain blessed.